Okay, we're going to cut right where we left off again. This is going to end of this tutorial. It's not going to be very long, but after this, we will move on to trend lines, and we're going to take this indicator that we created, and we are going to use these fractals that we have right here, and we're going to draw trend lines with it. So we're going to take the same information right here, draw it here, and those are trend lines. And we are going to actually code slopes. Use the slope formula to make sure no bar breaks the trend line. And if a bar breaks a trend line, for example, something like this, that is a no-go. We are not going to consider that a trend line. We want or anything where the low, for instance, if we got a trend line going up, if the low breaks that trend line any at all, that is a invalid trend line. And that is the next thing that we're going to be coding in the next lesson. But before we do that, we need to make this indicator accessible to other indicators. So how are we going to do that? Well, we got a private list. This is the information that we want. We want these two lists right here to be available to other indicators. So we saved the fractals in this list, but we haven't set as private. And the reason why we have them set as private is we don't want anybody to take this information and to be able to change it. That's what we're doing. The classes have our getters and setters. So we do not want these lists to be changed in at all. So how do we do that? Well, if we go over to the MACD, we see that NinjaScript allows for series. There are different types of series, as I can show you right here. We got the price series, and these are different things in the series right here. The doubles, date time, and the volume. We have all these things here that we can create with the I series. But we're not going to do that in these indicators. We got our information already saved. We want to keep this information together. And in order for us to do that, we're going to go over here to the MACD, the thing they already have saved. And we're going to copy this. Any indicator has them, all of them has them. We're just going to copy this information, bring it over, and we're going to stay inside of our class that we have already, which is right here. And let's create a region and standard for NinjaScript to keep all of their things that's going to be accessible and the properties. Okay, take this information and we're going to paste it, keep it public, but we don't want this to be serious because we want a list. We want a list of every single up fractal and down fractal that we have saved. So we got up fractals, and let's just simply call it up fractals. Keep it capitalized. And the reason why we want it capitalized is I'm going to show you in a second. And let's just do the same thing for the down fractals. The list, let's just change this to down fractals and change this here to down fractals. And in values, this is why we want to keep this capitalized, because we want to return this information right here, the down fractals, the up fractals. So how do we return this list? We're just going to have it let other indicators get this by only having the getter. They're not going to be able to mess with the setter. We're just going to let them return this private list that we have. So we just come here and just say return up fractals, return down fractals. Now this information is accessible to other indicators that we have. Other indicators can be able to pull up this indicator, find this fractals that we have, and be able to use it just by this right here. They're gonna have access to our price and the date that happened. And when that happens, we can use this indicator with other indicators and create anything that we want to. All right, and that will be it. Like I said, on the next lesson, We will use trend lines based off these fractals that we use to create a strategy by the end of this tutorial.